Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Striving to Thriving, Redefining Success Show. I'm your host, Barbara Ellison, and I am the founder of Wellness Playroom for the best version of you. And I am so excited to have such an absolutely phenomenal panel today. So we're just going to kind of go around the room and we're going to introduce. I'll start with myself, and then we're going to go around the room and introduce everybody. And then we're just going to have an absolutely phenomenal conversation. And, because it's all about conversation and getting visible with what you do. So, yeah, as I said, my name is Barbara Ellison. I'm a transformational life trainer. And what started for me was that I realized after my husband passed away 12 years ago that I had no idea of who I was outside of my job, outside of all the labels that I had put on myself. So that started my journey. And so we'll share more about that as we go along. But Coach Al, how about for you? I met you through LinkedIn. And so tell
Right.
us about yourself, who you are, what you do, that little bit, and then we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, first of all, Barbara, to put this amazing uh, platform live together. It's I always I'm interested in having a conversation about life. I'm a relationship coach, and I'm a certified calling in the one, conscious uncoupling, and laser coaching, and they're all kind of connected to each other about that relationship that you basically, that foundational relationship that you have with yourself and then everybody around you. And the reason, and I invited these other three ladies, is because I believe that we can have it all: good relationships, excellent health, and all the money that we would like to have in our life. And also with Bree, that does all the connection between all of us, is that the foundation part is Bree, and she's the one that puts everything together for us to be successful in interacting with other people in our all different platforms that are out there today. So that's what I do.
Okay,
So
so
I
now
would
you're
like
going
to,
to introduce. Yeah.
yeah, yes. I would like to introduce Bree. She's a podcaster. She's a woman that does it all. I would, you know what? I rather have her talk about herself a few minutes, because I wanted to do justice. She knows more about what she does for us and for everybody out there. So go ahead, Bree.
Thanks, Elle. And thank you, Barbara, for having this platform. I really appreciate it. I love being a part of a panel, and these ladies are spectacular, each and every one of them. So what a treat for me to be part of this. As Elle said, yes, I am a podcaster. I'm also a producer and a coach. I help people get that idea of, I think I want to have a podcast, to actually launching their podcast. And then I help people that are podcasters really excel and grow and monetize their podcasts. And so for me, it's a passion pursuit. I love doing what I do. I love helping people, whether it's to grow their business or to just have that thing that has happened to them, or a hobby that they love, to be able to share it with the world. And so I offer courses. I have a free course. I have membership groups, but it's all about helping each individual person bring their dream to life. And that is what I do on a daily basis. I love what I do. And I have fun podcasts too that I love to do. I do a reality show podcast. So all kinds of stuff, anything you can imagine, there's probably a podcast on it. And if there's not, I can help you make it happen. So that's just a little bit about me. But thank you so much for having me as part of this panel today.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bree. And now Erin. Erin is a money coach. I met her through, I guess, some interactions, and it was interesting to see how we are connected together, not physically, but energetically. And one thing that she has been working on is that the human design, and it's amazing how it's so accurate when she works with her clients, and she did that for me as well. So go ahead, Erin.
Thanks, Elle. Thanks for having me, and for Barbara for hosting all of this. So I think, the the basis is that, I help people learn to feel safe with money, because I feel like a lot of us have grown up, or at least that's the experience of clients, when they come to me, is that money wasn't a safe topic. And so, helping them really connect with their bodies. We do a lot of, I call it like inner head, decision making. And so helping them understand their human design and really come back home to themselves and honor and trust their knowing and the way that they want to live their life and run their business. And like at peace and at home with themselves is what I help them do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And of course, Dr. Angelica, the angel that I met a few weeks ago. And it's amazing how we energetically, and she actually physically, we met, first of all. And we had so much to talk about the first time that we met. She's an amazing doctor, health coach. She has helped me with my shoulder and many other people. But go ahead, you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Coach Elle and Barbara, once again for hosting this platform with these incredible women. I'm so excited to get into a conversation with you all. But as Coach Elle was mentioning, I'm an integrative health coach and a doctor of physical therapy by trade. I learned that in my practice as solely a PT, that it wasn't enough to serve the people that I was helping. I was realizing that people needed more than just supporting their physical ailments. I was realizing that there was more than that. It was people needing emotional and mental and even spiritual support, how their relationship was with nourishing their bodies. And this is what led me towards creating this integrative container where people can learn how to reconnect back to themselves and how to take care of their bodies. Because we've all been conditioned by a society that's told us that we don't have agency over our bodies. We don't have agency over our health. And that's what I had started my practice and platform around supporting the individuals around me.
Right.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah, and such an important, that's one of the reasons, I'll tell you a little bit about background of me, of why I started this show to begin with. 12 years ago, I lost my husband and realized that when I woke up from my widow's fog, that I had no idea of who I was outside of all the labels that I had put on myself, of being, a daughter, and then being a wife, and being a mother, and then being a divorced failure, but then being a successful wife again, and then being a grandmother, and now I was a widow. Who was I in all of that? And I can remember sitting at my dining room table going, okay, Barbara, David has died. You have not. What are you going to do for the rest of your life? And that was my moment of decision, that I could not go on like this for another moment. So we started with our backstory and then our decision. That was my moment of decision. And then, so I started on my journey, and now what it has done for me is lead me to, now I work with late career business professionals who are facing retirement, and they have no idea of who they are outside of their job title or their job description. What am I going to do when I retire? Who am I going to be? Am I going to be relevant? Am I still going to be worth anything? What's going to be my purpose? Because they're so used to that corporate structure or their business structure. And it has been so rewarding. And that was part of the reason why I started this show, is to let people know that you're not alone. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. I've had women on, I've had men on, and it's like, oh, they've all had the same thing. We all have to come to that one moment where we say, okay, something has to change. And this is how it's going to change. And now I'm going to use it to move myself forward, but as well as the people that are around us. And that's what the beauty of it is. So I am so grateful. So thank you so much, ladies, for coming today, of just being part of this and just sharing the wealth of knowledge that we have, of wisdom that we've all gleaned over our lives, and how we can now make an impact around the world. So that's me, kind of like. So Elle, let's go around with you, and let's have a conversation.
Yeah, sure. So my story is, when I sold my last company 7 years ago, I realized that my relationship with my ex is not where I wanted it to be. So I really went and dig deep and trying to understand why my relationships in the love department does not work, but the business part always works. So when I went deeper into that, then I realized that that interaction, that relationship with self was not there, was not in that self love, self care, and those limiting beliefs were all over the place. So as I went deeper and I figured out what I was doing in that interaction with my relationships, in the love relationships, I figured out what was my part in that interaction. And then I said to myself, if I knew that 20 years ago or 10 years ago, then I wouldn't have had to go through this space with my ex. So I decided that I'm going to help other people to figure out where they are, where they want to be in a relationship, specifically with themselves, and then with other people around them. And of course, the love relationship is the most, to me, it's the most important relationship. It's a relationship with self and with others. So I can say that I help people to become their love mastery. They understand exactly what they want in their love life, understand who they are, and then where they want to go. So it's amazing how when you understand who you are and what your needs are, everything around you changes. So I help my clients doing that, and putting step by step, going toward that love that they have been ignoring in their hearts. So that's what I do.
Such an important subject. Such an important subject. All right. So, okay, breathe.
Well, I'm a teacher by trade. I spent many years teaching, and then got that entrepreneurial bug that hit me. And I started a soap business. I was really concerned about what chemicals I was putting in my body. So I had a soap business. COVID hits, and my business kind of dried up, right? I had to pivot. I had to figure out what is it I'm going to do with this business now that I don't see people in person and I can't go to events. And I really had to change everything up. And so I, of course, went online like many of us did and found a way to market myself and get in front of new people through this all these online platforms, social media and things like that. And it was about a year and a half into this COVID situation that I wasn't feeling great. And I ended up getting COVID and was really sick. And I was pushing so hard. I was relaunching my business. I was doing all of these things. And I ended up in the hospital. And it was a result of COVID, but it wasn't when I was sick with COVID. I had already recovered from COVID, and I really got stopped in my tracks. And it made me realize that I wasn't putting myself first. It was a real wake-up call. So I ended up in the emergency room. I had 2 pulmonary embolisms. I had a DVT in my leg. I had heart failure. I had a lot of things going wrong with me that I probably almost wasn't supposed to survive, but I did. And I got through that. I spent 12 days in the hospital. I got out of the hospital with all of these tremendously heavy diagnoses. You need open heart surgery, you need valve replacement, you need all of these things. And I think I sat in, as you called it, a widow's fog. I sat in my I'm going to die tomorrow brain fog pity party that nobody wanted to come to because apparently it wasn't fun to be around. And I spent a long time, probably about 2 months, not planning even what I was going to make for dinner because I didn't think that I was going to be around. And that's a really hard thing when you just don't even know, like, when is my time and how much time do I have left in this world now? And so many people that count on me. And then one day I discovered podcasting. I attended a seminar and it spoke to me. And they really say that podcasting saved my life because even though I have and still have a lot of issues, I was just very, very sick in April and almost back in the hospital. But I turned the corner and I said, I am going to, regardless of the situation I am in, I am going to find joy in life, and I'm going to do something productive in life, no matter what my time is and how limited it might be or how long it might be, and start putting myself first and start doing something that brought me joy and passion. And so that is why I got into podcasting. I found that I loved it. I could do it because it wasn't physically taxing on me. And I then, once I kind of got accomplished at it, wanted to help everyone around me. I felt like that was my giving back. That was how I could touch a lot of lives and help a lot of people, because I did it pretty much alone. And then I didn't want anyone else to do that. So I wanted to help as many people as I could. So that was my real turning point 3 years ago. Still going through things. Like I said, I was just very sick in April. And now I've got more appointments. I'm going to the Mayo Clinic and things to really take care of myself, but putting myself first. And I think that's what we all have to do, is remember that even though we want to help so many other people, we also have to take care of the person so that we can be that person to so many others. So that's my story.
Beautiful.
I probably would have been one of Barbara's clients a couple of years ago, because my background is in financial planning, and I helped run my family's construction business for 10 plus years. And I led what you would probably call like that checklist life, right? Like you've done all of the things, you've checked all of the boxes, and I don't know if it is over a period of time that it happened. For sure, it probably was that way more so than, but you wake up one day and you're just like, what am I doing with my life? Like I'm frustrated. This isn't really what I envisioned, like I have all the things and I still don't feel fulfilled. And so I, hired my first coach and got into coaching and started making lots of changes, and actually started coaching people and helping them. And probably 2 years in, I realized, I really want to take some time off. And that was something that I had never done, to the point, like I scheduled my only child's birth around payroll at the time, because looking back, you're just like, what were you thinking, Erin? But like, I didn't know any different, right? Like Bree's saying, like taking care of ourselves, like now I know you have a choice, right? Like you can, and so what turned in, what started as 3 months turned into 2 years of taking time off. And like Barbara's talking about, when you've put your whole identity into either how much money you've made or saved or invested, or who you are as a person is like your business or your job, you have all of this time that you are like, who am I, right? Like, am I worthy of being here if I'm not making money, if I'm using our money, if I don't have a business, or, and so really all of that stuff that I probably had suppressed for years and years and years. I think I probably was a great workaholic. It was my drug of choice, and it all came up, and was able to, I was able to work through it during that time off, because I think by working, I had used that as a way to not deal with some of those things that I was feeling. And so after, traveling and talking to people, and, whether when I was a financial advisor, just kind of putting the pieces together, like, even though people have money, that doesn't mean that they feel safe with their money. And that was more, every person that I had coached and just talking to people, and just really, the more people I talked to, I was like, this is the thing, right? Like, we want to understand how our finances work. Like I call it like the 3D of money, right? Like we want to understand how our bookkeeping and our taxes and investing work. But all of that can be great. But if we don't feel, confident, if we don't feel peace, safe in our bodies when we're handling our money, it doesn't matter how much money we have. We'll just continue to move the goalpost to try to make us feel better, feel safer. And so really helping, people, and for sure, that's what I did. Like I had to realize, like, it doesn't matter. Like I would move the goalpost every time I would save and be at an X dollar amount. It was like, I don't feel any safer. I actually feel less safe, right? Less confident. And so realizing that, what, it's gotta, like the theme here, I think, right? It's gotta be within, right? Like the external thing is not what's going to make us feel safe. It's not going to make us feel calm. It's not going to make me feel confident. Like that's an internal thing and an internal job that I've got to do and work on. And so that's pretty much what I've done over the last couple of years of, I mean, we're all like regulating the nervous system and really, really kind of looking at all of those parts that I never really did, because I just thought like if we have more money, then that'll be okay. And so, helping people understand and be at peace with, when people ask like, how does this, translate to success? It's like, well, first of all, you have to define what is your definition of success, because a lot of people have a lot of money and they don't feel very successful, or they don't feel at peace, And so, really coming back home to ourselves and feeling like, do we feel joy on a consistent basis? Do we feel fulfillment? Like all of those states of being that we have to generate within, that is now what I feel like I am, and then feel like how I help people.
Beautiful. Angelica.
Yes, so my story began honestly for probably as long as I could remember growing up in an Asian American household. It's where I was blessed to experience the different cultural foods and things that, made up what was so wonderful. But at the same time, what was also normalized was growing up with people in my family as early as 29 experiencing hypertension and diabetes and all of these different metabolic conditions that, we typically aren't supposed to experience, if at all. So it led me eventually towards my journey of exploring why. Why was my family and why were so many other people around us experiencing these things? And it wasn't until I had experienced my own health scare. So when I was 19, I was in my second year of undergrad, and I was experiencing these debilitating migraines almost twice a week, if that. So, of course, I went to my primary care physician. And every time I had my blood pressure checked, it was skyrocketing, like 151/90. Just for base reference, normal values around what's healthy is 120/70. And I was like, why is this happening to me? On paper, everything looked okay. I was exercising, I was eating the greens like, every person and doctor tells you to do. And all my doctor gave me at the time in a 10-minute session was a prescription of beta blockers, which is an anti-hypertension medication that basically once you start, you are on that for as long as you live. And at that time, I was thinking to myself, this is not supposed to be a part of my narrative, not yet, and not ever. So I was like, hey, doc, I'll pick up the prescriptions, but can I do a deeper dive and understand why these symptoms are happening to me? So since I wasn't getting the answers from my own doctor, from migraine specialists, from CAT scans, which all said, everything was normal outside of that, I started to look more internally. And the craziest thing after this 3-year journey was when I looked inside, my mental health and my emotional regulation and my nervous system were non-existent. I had no language to describe the way that my body was under a constant state of fight or flight, which on a physiological level, your heart rate is jumping out of your chest as if you were going to get attacked by a bear all the time. And your blood pressure is also responding to those things. So these were the things that no one could tell me. I had to figure it out when I finally started talking to a therapist. I started learning all of the different alternative modalities that we don't normalize in conventional medicine. And now this is basically what has led me to exploring not only Western medicine, because there is a time and place for it, but how do we bridge all of the beautiful other alternative forms of how we can heal and support the body's connection to the mind and the soul? Because conventional medicine will never, ever discuss these things because we cannot market this. We cannot put this in a diagnosis. Because why? It is a sickness billing industrial complex, and you code for disease. And because I've gone through schooling in this Western medicine system, I can also say we are only trained, every doctor you've met is only trained to code for disease, not how do we prevent disease. And that is not a system that I want to be a part of. So this has led me to supporting the patients that I get the opportunity of working with, to give them the language, to give them the space of how can they express things that they've never expressed before. How does being heard and simply being seen of past events affect them physiologically? And how do we integrate different techniques from a physical therapy standpoint, from a cognitive behavioral standpoint, and a somatic standpoint, so that you get that whole package of understanding that the human in front of you is not just their disease. So that's how I've basically structured the way that I support the patients I see today. So it's not just neck pain, it's not just shoulder pain, it's not just hypertension, it's not just depression. It's so much more to that. And that is something that I will stand on till the day I die, to support people through those things.
I love it. Thank you. Amazing. Barbara, we can't hear you. You unmute.
Technology.
Okay.
There it goes. One of the things, yeah, is that so many of my people say, well, I'm just experiencing burnout. Yeah, well, everything that we've all just talked about is all part of burnout, and it impacts every area of our life. And that is like, oh, and well, and what can I do about it? Well, it starts with you. That's where I love when I hear people's decision story, is that I realized that I had to do something different. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It all comes out differently. We're all in different situations. We're all in different areas of expertise. And yet we all had to have that one moment of decision that we had to change ourselves. And
Yeah.
now
And you know what? And you know what it is? I think what happens in that space, then we commit to being in a different space. That commitment that comes out about having a better relationship, about having better health, about making money in a different way, or Bree's story. I mean, we all have our own stories, but then it's that space or that moment that we make that commitment to ourselves that changes our life. And it's amazing how it happens when we really go deep and understand where we want to go, where we want to be, instead of that patterns of the past that has been happening through us, not to us, but through us, because it's everything. We all have that energetic being, that everything that happens, it's because of that energy that we give out. So it's amazing. Everybody's story is amazing.
I wanted to say, when you talk about how we change the focus, we make a different decision, right? Like I had to make a decision recently. It was why I'm switching to new doctors and things, because things weren't moving forward. We forget, like we keep thinking that, oh, I'm going to keep trying this and expecting a different result, and it doesn't happen. Right. We have to change. We have to make that change. We have to decide within ourselves to make that change. I remember when I got finished with, when I got out of the hospital, and I was like, okay, I've got to eat right. I've got to buy the things that support my health. Sodium's now a no-no for me. Worst diet ever. Wouldn't recommend. And it's lifelong, right? I always have to watch my sodium now. So I went to the store, and this happened, a couple of years ago, right after I got out of the hospital. And I went shopping with my husband, and we were at the checkout line, and everything's self-checkout now. And I was putting things through, ringing things through myself and putting them into the bags. And one of the first things I grabbed was this big box of Cheerios, because not that I'm associated with Cheerios, but it was like, these are healthy for me. It's an easy breakfast for me. I like these. They're low in sodium. I'm going to have these for breakfast. And I picked up the box of Cheerios and I rang it through. And the second that I rang it through, I thought to myself, I didn't say anything out loud, but I had this like epiphany that I was choosing myself in that moment. And the reason I say that is because, back when my kids were little and we didn't have ATM cards, it was cash or check. And, you didn't have all these ways to see what your bank account balance was and all of this stuff. I remember very distinctly taking my kids through the grocery line and not having enough money to pay for my food and having to put things back. And the first things I would put back were the things for myself. And so I would never want that to happen again. It really stuck with me. I would always put my things last. Every checkout line, everything I did for years and years. This was 25 years ago that this happened. And for years, I would always take my things last because I could give up the things for myself the easiest, because my things that I wanted or needed were not as important as my family's. And that's how I looked at things. So that day in the store recently, when I did grab that Cheerio box and I put it through first, I said, what I need is important and what keeps me healthy is important. And I made the choice that day very quietly with nobody knowing what I was doing. But as I reached for that Cheerio box and I rang it through, I realized I'm putting myself first for the first time in my life. That was a game changer for me. It was an incredible moment. I still remember it so clearly. But you have to make decisions, make choices, to put yourself first, to take care of yourself, to make this work here so that you can serve others.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, Brie. I really agree with you on that one. It's amazing that people who they say, "Oh, I don't love myself, but I love the other person." But how can you love the other person when you don't love yourself? And same thing, how can you take care of other people when you don't take care of yourself? You put yourself in that jeopardy of not being healthy. Yeah, amazing, beautiful.
True.
And they always say on an airplane, put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
Can't forget about that. Oh, Brie, thank you so much for sharing that. It's
Right.
what really stuck out was how beautiful it was that you made that decision. I think we've all come to these experiences, whether it was working with someone else up until we made that decision, that it's hard to do the work until we make that choice that I am doing this for myself. Because the reflection of how we are able to show up for other people, how we're able to love the people around us, is mirrored off of how we can give ourselves that. So it's so important.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
Thank you. I probably could have bought 50 boxes of cereal for myself that day. Money wasn't an issue now, but it's still I think it's representative. It's representative of where we put ourselves in the scheme of things, and my needs and the things that I need to make me whole and to make me healthy and to care for not just, the food I'm putting in my body, but the thoughts that I'm putting in my body, the things that I'm taking in and that I want to have. Though that's important, and we need to think about those things and put ourselves first. Because I remembered that moment back that day when I had to put things back. Plus, of course, it was back in the day when they had those, oh, the lady doesn't have enough money. Can I get a soft boy up here? Like it's like the whole store knows that you've done this. So it kind of really stuck it in my brain at that point. So. But yeah, now I can laugh about it. But yeah, we have to put ourselves first. Whatever our needs are, we need to have a good relationship, whether it's with money or with ourselves or in our relationships or with our bodies and how our bodies are working and why things are happening. Now I'm thinking, am I on beta blockers? Do I need to worry about? Because I don't have high blood pressure. I'm actually very soft blood pressure because of other drugs. But now I'm like, I better check with my doctors.
But I think, regardless of what it is, right? Like for our health or our money or, love or whatever, it's like, it really comes back to, right? Like, do we feel worthy? Do we feel deserving? How lovable, and we're all lovable, right? But like, how lovable do we feel? Like, I think it just manifests and shows up in different ways for us, but really it's just that, how worthy and deserving do I feel to have everything that I want, to live the life that I want, to have the health that I want, to have the relationships that I want, the money, the way I want it, all of it. And that's not like, I love that you said that, Angelica, like, that, it's not I'm paraphrasing, right? Like the medical industry doesn't make any money off of, like telling you that you're well and how to heal. And it's the same, I feel like it's the same as like, it's not sexy to say like, hey, you know what? You don't need this quick fix. You just need to, work on the internal stuff, right? Like that's not sexy. It's not a quick fix. It doesn't happen overnight, but like some of the best work that we can ever do for ourselves and, for humanity, I think, because when we do it for ourselves, it just right. Our cup is full and it just overflows and people see that,
Yeah, it's amazing. You're talking about limiting beliefs, and that's the everyday work with my client. And that when those limiting beliefs are mostly 99% as it comes to your from those childhood experiences, specifically that's interactions in those early ages. I mean, I can talk about myself, and I realized when I went and I worked on myself, I realized that uh, my interaction in when I was 6 years old, 7 years old with my grandmother, who was my primary caretaker. She left the country, moved to another country. I'm from Iran originally. She moved from Iran to US, and she did not tell me. So that part of me that was always looking for that mother or the love. So in my head, my limiting belief has been, now it's not in that space anymore, but everybody that I love leaves me. So when my thinking, my belief is that, then none of my interactions as a relationship in the love part is going to work, because my energetic being is in that space of negative space, that nobody will stay with me. Everybody's going to leave me. And again and again, it has happened. And sometimes before it will happen, I would leave them because that fear has always been there that they're going to leave me. So yes, those limiting beliefs are, it's about money, about health, about the relationship. The key is to really go deep, look at that, and heal that younger self inside of us that has those uh, emotions. Still at the 50-year-old, 30-year-old, you still have that 6-year-old emotions and thoughts in the body. And yes, that's the key to really understanding what has happened in the past, but feel those emotions and remedy that, heal that for today, who you are today.
Right. One of the things for me that, and I think we talked about it in the pre-show, is that people have said to me, "Oh, Barb, you've changed so much." And I finally one day said to one of the people, I said, "You know what? It's not that I've changed. It's that I have finally come into my own self, that I like me, that I like the me that I am. I am comfortable in my own skin.
Exactly.
I'm doing things that make my heart sing. I'm not doing things that I do just because you told me I should. The coulds, I should, all of those things." And that was kind of your standing in line at the grocery store moment. It's like, you know what? Yeah, no, I like me. I like the person I'm becoming. And it's just, but once in a while, that's really a hard realization to, number one, think it and then admit it. And don't you think that's where so many people get caught? Is, oh, how can I admit that? Well,
Yeah.
that's part of your growth.
Yeah, that's why we are coaches, and we help. Actually, we went through it ourselves, and now we're helping other people because we have been there, and we had that emotion. We understand it's the fear is always going to be there, but then how you're going to handle it at today's time with who you are today, that's the key.
All right. Okay. Well, if all of you were going to be, kind of wrapping up today, this has been absolutely a great conversation. If all of you will put your contact information in the chat, I'll put it out onto LinkedIn. And Absolutely. Let people know how to get. So in the next few minutes, let people know how they can get in touch with you, and or if you have a free course or whatever it is, because you know what, we're all in. We cannot. One of my favorite sayings is that we cannot do life on our own. We need to do it
That's
with the people around us. So let's all help each other. Let's all just get in touch with who we are, because you know what, if chances are, if we are dealing with something, chances are someone else has also dealt with it somewhere along the line. And one of the things for me is, if you have, I said to a friend of mine one day, I said, if you've thought it, if you have survived it, if you are now going past it, then you have to tell it. And he went, oh, Barb, that's true. And I said, yeah, that's where you've got to tell it, because somebody else might be starting out where you are, where you were. And that is so, so, so important. So thank you, ladies. All right.
Thanks, Barbara. I love that. I love what you do, and I think about retiring, and I'm kind of retired as it is from teaching these days, but moving into what I just love to do. And I look at retirement, and I look at that next step. I look at it as, it's not just I'm not going to do my job anymore, but I'm going to create a life that I want to live. It's the after party, right? It's like, I've made it through, I've graduated, I've done the prom thing, and I've done all the things, had my kids and watched them get married and do all these fun things. I want like that after party, right? Where I'm like, less responsibility, and I can have some fun, I can enjoy my grandkids, and really just relax a little bit in that last stage, those last many years, I hope, of life. I hope that I have, to really just enjoy and soak in all of the things. So I'm definitely going to be looking to you to get advice and get tips, and move into that stage very soon. So I love that you're doing that.
Yeah. Thanks.
yeah,
Hey, who's
beautiful.
next?
Angelica.
Oh, yes. I just wanted to say I'm so grateful to just hear about everyone's stories and have the platform to support all of, the humans who need the support that they may not realize that they need. And what I'm also coming to realize is the importance of going forward and sharing our stories. Being vulnerable is, it's the hero's journey. And in that, it's being able to say, hey, I've been there, and you don't have to do that alone. So, it's really beautiful that we all have stepped forward and are creating these containers and these spaces so that people can, traverse whatever journey that they're on as well. So, very excited to, continue getting to know you ladies, and to whoever's watching this, I'd love to have an opportunity to get to know you as well.
Beautiful. So I am so excited and happy that I joined everybody today. It's amazing how everybody's story opens up a door for whoever is watching or listening to us today. So I'm amazed about that. Um, I do offer a complimentary session if you like to talk about your relationship with others, with self. We also have a summit coming up in June that it's called You Can Have It All, about good relationships, money, and excellent health. And everybody who is on this panel today is going to be speaking on the summit. Bree can talk a little bit more about that because she's putting it together. So it's amazing that everybody is here today, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
appreciate that. I just put that in the chat, so that we can share it out. We are having a summit. It is You Can Have It All. We're going to be talking about money. We're going to be talking about our health, whether it be through exercise or how we are feeding our bodies and nurturing our souls, and how we look at ourselves through our relationships with ourselves and with others. I'm really excited. We do it podcast style, where we ask questions and interview you, and it's a really wonderful opportunity. So I invite everyone to either attend or come be a speaker. I put the link in the chat to find out more information. But what a beautiful space this has been with all of you here today. I've truly, truly feel that I know you so much better, that I am closer to all of you, that I see a great understanding of how we as women in all different fields, but all coming together under the same purpose of wanting to serve ourselves, serve those that are looking to find a better life, whether it be retirement, money, relationships, or health, whatever it is. And would love to tell your story on a podcast. So I thank you. I thank all of you for being here. And I thank you, Barbara, for giving us this beautiful space today. It's truly been such a fun time for me, and it's so enjoyable. And I'm very grateful for it. Thank you.
Oh, you're
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
You're welcome. So, Erin, how about for you?
I just want to say thank you, Barbara, and to Elle for having me on and being able to connect with all of you lovely ladies. And I think like the sentiment here, right, is like, it doesn't matter. We're all the same, right? Like our stories, even though they may sound differently, that reminds us that we're all the same. And that is one of the things that for my podcast that like, I really want to, you know, when you're listening, that you're like, you know what? Yeah, me too. Right. Like we all are the same. We may have differences, and also like we're all human. We all have emotions. And so I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be here, to share my story, to listen to each of yours. And yeah, I have a cohort that, you know, you can join on the wait list for. It's just a small group of entrepreneurs that really want to learn more about the 3D and the 5D of money. So understanding bookkeeping and taxes, as well as, you know, your emotions with money. And yeah, I put my information in there, so you can look at my website and connect with me. I've got all different ways to connect on my website. I appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah, that's one of the things that I just love about this show, is that because we are more alike than we're different.
Yeah.
And so everybody, it was all well said that we are all but we're all at different spots in our lives too.
Yeah.
So, and yet for some people, they might be just beginning. For other people, they're further along, and yet they're not feeling like they're being seen or heard, or they're not being understood.
Yeah.
And I think that once we can get in touch with that human desire to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood. And for myself, that's when I realized that, you know what, I like me. Somebody else doesn't understand my journey. I don't, you know, like I didn't understand, you know, I might not understand Bree's journey or Angelica's or any of the journeys because they weren't mine, but I understand mine. And I think that is what is so important about having shows like this, of having platforms like this, having podcasts like this, because people want to be part of a community. And that, I think, is one of the biggest things, is being part of a community, that we are known and seen and understood, and that we're not doing life alone.
Yes. Thank you, Barbara. You had us today. We felt seen, heard, and noticed, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this has been a blast. So if any of you, that audience, you know, if you would like to see more of these shows, reach out to me and let me put my information in that would be a really good thing, to put my information in there. That reach out to me. And absolutely. And if you would like to bring on a panel of your own, feel free to do that. Just reach out to me and let me know. And then come on and we'll set it up for you. And it was just such a now, ladies, let me ask, was this fun?
It was a blast.
Yes.
This was fun. And that's exactly what the idea of this was to be, to have fun and to know that you're not alone, to know that you're not by yourself, that you can have fun and be in spotlight. I had one gal that one day we were talking and she was like, "Oh no, what do you mean this is international?" And I went, and she was like, "This is international?" And I went, "Well, yeah." And she just was like, "Oh, you didn't tell me that at the beginning." And I went, "Well, yeah, no, I don't till the end, because you know what? Sometimes it's like, oh, yikes." But I've just put in the comments my link to. I think it showed up there. Let me make sure. We love technology. Yep. That if you would like to do one of these LinkedIn live shows, please reach out to me. I love doing them, and just we all need to be out there. And the more visibility we can get for what we do, it helps everybody, including not just ourselves, but the people around us and the world around us. So that's me, because that's one of my missions, is to make a difference in the world. So, ladies, this was amazing. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you next time from just for you today to go from striving to thriving, and choose for yourself how you are going to redefine your success, and know that you don't have to do it on your own. So reach out to any of us to find out how you can do that for yourself. So have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.